Hello and welcome back to the Corruptive Chaos channel. Today we'll be reviewing The Black Phone. So, The Black Phone was directed by Scott Derrickson and written alongside his usual collaborator, C. Robert Cargill. Those two also produced the film. This is a Blumhouse production, responsible for films like Scott Derrickson has directed before, like Sinister.
Who are you?
The director, Scott Derrickson, also responsible for the MCU's Doctor Strange, nearly 6 years ago now. Of course, he was at one point slotted to direct the sequel, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. He was going to direct that, all the way up until the spring of 2020, I believe. This film, on the other hand, was shot before that. This has been pushed back. Its release date, anyway, has been pushed back so many times. I thought The Black Phone was actually going to be my first film that I was going to review on the Corruptive Chaos channel back in January. Instead, I ended up reviewing Scream when this got pushed back. But moving on, though, The Black Phone, I would say it's being marketed or labeled as a horror film. I would more say that it is a suspenseful thriller. There aren't many scares in it, I'll say that right off the bat. I think that this is trying to attract the usual, maybe Blumhouse branded type of audience that are wanting to go in for a horror film. This, though, is more an edge of your seat kind of suspenseful thriller. It's not a bad film at all. We'll get to that. I just say that don't go in with sort of the wrong expectations.
It doesn't work. Hang it up.
I thought this was going to be very scary, but I was pleasantly surprised that it was still good. It wasn't all that terrifying, though, albeit with some usual modern horror jump scares happening. Not as often as, I would be annoyed with, though. And the story is based on a short story written by Joe Hill. It takes place in the late 70s. So all of the detail, attention to the aesthetic, hairstyling, costume design, the interior designs of homes, what characters do and act like. It makes sense on how they would act like, over 40 years now. The characters make sense. This is all in a time of landlines and rotary phones. And, if you've checked out any of the trailers, and, the titular phone, the Black Phone, it is an old school rotary phone. This is in a time of zero cell phones. This is when people had to actually pick up a phone, call someone. If they didn't answer, you had to call back later. And this is the ultimate sort of stranger danger film in an era when it would have been hard to sort of locate someone, or people would have always had a presence on the internet, and so you couldn't tell what their maybe last actions were. But within this story, we have mostly three main characters, two child actors, and our villain, the Grabber, played by Ethan Hawke. But our main child actor, he is Finney, played by Mason Thames. He's supposed to be 13 years old in the story. He kind of is our vessel for what is also very much a coming-of-age story. The core, though, relationship that sort of is the emotional core at the center of the film is between him and his sister, Gwen, which is played by Madeline McGraw. I think both of these child actors, really impressive. They really have to show a lot of emotion in the trouble that they're having at school and home life. And they really have to stick together. So their sibling relationship really shows on screen. I was impressed with both of them. And, especially Finney, who has to show being terrified at times. He has to be, sticking up for himself, or he's getting bullied in our first act.
I made you some breakfast.
What'd you put in that?
Salt and pepper.
The first act is really interesting in that we don't get a lot of the scary or suspenseful moments. There is sort of just this brooding sort of know-how of that this villain is definitely coming. It's not a surprise when the character, the Grabber, comes and takes Finney. And we've already seen in really sort of quick moments how the grabber has shown up, but we don't get to see the action of him actually taking other kids from the school that these two main characters go to.
Oh, you goof. Wasn't that just peachy keen?
You need some help?
I'm glad so much time was spent on this emotional anchor that is this sibling relationship. We get a abusive father in the mix. We have cops, supporting actors, the cops trying to figure out where the grabber is, where he has shown up, and what his next move will be, and if they can find any of the missing children. So the grabber himself is just a human being, a human character, but we throw in a lot of supernatural elements in there that go along and mix with the story in interesting ways. Madeline McGraw as Gwen, when she dreams, she does get these visions, and I don't think that's much of a spoiler. We get to know that pretty early on, and how that will help Finney when he's taken is interesting, and how that plays out later on. Most of the film, though, is just set in this one location where Finney is trapped by the grabber, but every so now and then we do cut back to Gwen, and she is desperately trying to use her supernatural abilities to find her brother. Not only that, but there's a lot of supernatural elements thrown in with the black phone itself. How that is used by Finney, even though it's disconnected, is kind of creepy in a way. There are hints of creepiness, especially with the grabber and his masks, which special shout out to Tom Savini, legendary makeup effects guy, who has designed these creepy masks for the grabber in the film. I think those are more in service to build suspense than rather to build any sort of terror in the audience. Like I said, there is the occasional jump scare, but really this is more of an edge of your seat kind of film than you sort of shrinking back into your seat in the theater with your hands over your eyes, being afraid of what is to come. Some of the best and suspenseful moments come from Finney just trying to think about how to escape from this basement room that he's in. We just get him progressing, and it's sort of like parallel to the stages of grief, where, you know, he goes through these emotional stages and kind of just being sort of done with it all or content with his situation after he has seemingly tried every possible route to escape this room.
My brother, he was taken.
By a man with black balloons.
Like I said, this is like the ultimate stranger danger film. The grabber himself, I was glad that his backstory isn't really delved into at all. He is more of a mysterious character. He is just a child kidnapper, and that's all we really get with Ethan Hawke's character. I think his performance is really spectacular as this creepy villain. The moments that he shares with Mason Thames are really tense. You never know if Ethan Hawke's character, the grabber, is about to snap at any moment. He can go from nice to really terrifying in a split second, really. Overall, I think that Scott Derrickson has proven to be one of Blumhouse's biggest assets of talent behind the camera. His direction is really strong here. The way he builds suspense and is able to shoot a scene within a confined space, the sort of caged basement that Finney is trapped in, is really impressive. It can be difficult to shoot on a lower budget and with smaller resources, maybe in just mostly one location for a large chunk of the film, but I think Derrickson really pulls it off. The way he uses the camera, it's always in service of building suspense or giving you sort of false hope, which then also leads to more suspense and possibly terror. Some people might get scared at this. I wasn't really. The jump scares kind of do produce an involuntary reaction occasionally.
Hello?
Don't hang up.
Who are you?
This is obviously well made, which, you know, when you compare it to other Blumhouse productions on the lower end, this looks like a amazing film. You know, I think Blumhouse's quality control is all over the place. They can produce greats like Get Out, and then, well, you can get some direct to Hulu stuff that isn't worth anyone's time. Another plus, I would say, is the musical score by Mark Corvin. He actually did the score for Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse, which is interesting. I think he is able to build an eerie, maybe a subtle tonal sound throughout the film. It only gets really loud when, a jump scare happens or we're revealing something that is sort of a twist on whatever is going on within a scene. I don't want to really delve into spoilers on how the score intertwines with specific plot points, but overall I think it's really effective in pushing your emotional sort of engagement with the film on how sort of excited you are to see what comes next really well. Well, coming to the end of this review, I would like to reiterate that I still think this is way more of a suspense film than it is a horror thriller. You might say supernatural thriller, I'll give you that, but that's not to say don't go see it. I would still say this is very good. The Black Phone will be up against some major competition on its opening weekend. Jurassic World Dominion is still out. Lightyear just came out. You still have Top Gun Maverick making waves, and its sort of weekly percentage drop on ticket sales is shockingly low. And then also this opening weekend is for Elvis. Also, I would say the performances, especially the 3 lead ones, are really impressive. It can be difficult to find really great child performers who can be believable in these characters and not just feel like maybe themselves and they were just hired because their sort of actual personality fits the archetype that the filmmaker is going for. I didn't get that vibe at all when watching this. I think that this proves that smaller budgeted films that get a wide release can be just as effective, entertaining, enjoyable, whatever, as hugely budgeted films that cost, upwards of $200 million. Blumhouse always makes movies on the cheap, but that doesn't mean that they have to be bad. When you put it in the right filmmaker's hands, you get good performers and really great crews behind the scenes. You can make some magic happen.
Please let the dreams be real.
You're getting out of here. How?
Also like to give a special shout out to the usage of 8mm footage. I don't know if it was just a filter or not, but if Scott Derrickson actually was shooting on 8mm film for some sort of vision sequences that intertwines with the supernatural aspects, that's great. I love to see actual film being projected in a real movie theater. So here comes my rating. I'm going to give The Black Phone a strong 3.5 out of 5 stars. I think this is pretty good. Is this better than Doctor Strange and Sinister and I think other Derrickson films that he's made before? Certainly. If you enjoy thrillers, if you enjoy just going out to see a movie in the summertime, I would recommend this over some other ones that have come out. So, thanks for watching, everyone. If you made it this far, be sure to subscribe and like the video, and stay tuned for what I have coming in the future.
I have an announcement to make. One of our students, Finney Blake, was abducted.
What if I could help the police find Benny?